In this video, we will be going through how to deal with negative thoughts and how to understand them better, so that when you want to make decisions or when you want to do things in life, they don't stop you from living the life you want to live. Without further ado, I got my notes right here. Let's get into it. Right? So, negative thoughts. These are the thoughts that have stemmed from multiple years of maybe trauma, maybe even just belief systems around you. And you've kind of built up this nervous system that has these concrete set of beliefs that just are stopping you from living the life you want to live in, like doing the things you want to do, right? They creep up at the weirdest times and stop you from having the conviction to do what you want to do. Now you feel insecure, now you're judging yourself and things like that. And we don't like that, right? And we want to get rid of them, but we don't know how. We don't even know what they are. Now, there is a certain framework and certain steps you can do, not to get rid of them because they're normal, but to further understand them and how to go about dealing with them. The first step of this whole process is awareness. See, most of us in our daily lives, we try to fight these negative thoughts, right? We see them as the enemy, or we kind of just let them be and we believe them, right? We don't accept them, we believe them, we fuel them. Maybe that is true. Maybe I'm not good enough for that. But the thing is, right, we don't even notice when they begin, where they're from, or like what ties they have to my own nervous system. Where are these thoughts coming from? Now, awareness, the reason why it's the first step is because it's making this thing, it's making you aware of where this thing is coming from. It's bringing it out of the vague into the clear. And fear can only exist in the vague. And when you become aware and specific, you basically drain all its power. Now there's no more fear. Now you're clear on what this is and where it comes from. Now, something you need to understand is that your mind has a lower self and a higher self, right? It's not all unified. There's multiple sectors and structures and divisions within your own mind, right? What does this mean? The higher self and the lower self. Millions of years ago, right? Before you had goals and intentions and things like this, you had a reptilian mind, right? That mind was responsible for just a couple functions. You didn't need to have morals or goals or anything like that. It was just responsible for survival, for making sure you're afraid of things that will harm you and things like that, right? And the thing is that lower self, that lower mind is still active. It hasn't updated, right? You come with it. You come with it pre-installed. And the higher mind is the frontal lobe. It's your ability to critically think, for you to get information and for you to examine that information in your own head, test it, and understand a thought or process or understand systems. That's the part of your mind that does it. Now, most people live in the lower self, right? This is where those thoughts live. This is where those negative thoughts, those trauma bonds, everything like that, that's where they live, right? And what it will try to do is, anytime you try to step out of your comfort zone, anytime we try to step out of our comfort zone, everyone feels this. It has its own system of kind of pricking you in the back with a needle. Oh, you might not be good enough for this. Remember that. Oh, you won't be able to do this. Oh, you don't know how to do that. Right? And that's what pulls you back, almost like an ego backlash. It's pulling you back to the identity you've already known. Right? But the thing is, understanding this is key, because now you know that it's not truth, it's pattern. Right? Now you know that, okay, this is not me. Right? This is just an old system that hasn't updated yet, that has old functions. Right? And you can understand that this is just inner conflict happening between my two minds. Right? When you understand that, you can then make the decision to now hear your frontal lobe out. right? Think about it more critically. This will help me become better at this. My fear stems from this. So it's not real fear. It's an illusion. And that's when fear comes out of the vague and into the specific. And once it enters the specific, it loses all its power. A key thing to remember is that your lower self is reactive, and it's emotional, and it's defensive. Its job isn't to understand your goals and dreams and desires. There's no love, truth, ambition in that lower self mind. There's only survival. There's only things that you fear. There's only emotional reactions. So you need to understand it and catch when it starts to take over and control. Not to fight it, but to understand it. Because that's where the power is. You cannot fight it because it's stronger than the higher self. But it's about understanding it and understanding, okay, this is not my normal functioning brain. Like it is my normal functioning brain, but this is not me thinking rationally. And the higher self is reflective, it's value-based, and it's intentional, right? That's the part of the brain where you can think about an idea, you can understand it, you can move towards bettering yourself without feeling that fear, right? And the truth is, right, the people that might be ahead of us when it comes to the things we want to do isn't that they don't feel the fear, it's that they became stronger. They got the new armor. They understand how their mind works and how they can kind of not work against it, but overcome it in a way. A question you might have is, why is the lower self so powerful? Right? And it's because millions of years ago, right, you didn't need to have goals. You didn't need to have values and principles. You needed to be fast, and you needed to react quick. You needed fear, right? Because that's when you feel fear, that's your response. You react, right? You're not intentional, right? And the reason is because you needed safety. That was your biggest priority. By you, I mean kind of our brains, but you get my point. So your brain decided to prioritize fear. It decided to prioritize threat detection and immediate reaction because that's what you needed. But that's what you need to understand to be able to evolve. This is a key aspect to remember. You cannot focus on your own purpose when you're living in fear, when you're focusing on survival. So the big question you may ask is, why am I still thinking like that? Like, obviously now I'm aware of it. Cool. I've noticed the patterns, but why? Why is that? Right? It's because your brain hasn't updated, right? And today you're rarely in actual physical danger. But the brain is still reacting as if you are, right? So it can't really assess the things happening now like it used to assess it back in the day. Like, there's not a massive creature trying to chase you, but there's things that are uncomfortable that trigger that feeling, right? And then the anxiety starts to hit, right? It kind of understands the little patterns, the little change of frequencies. And that's when it starts to kick in the ego backlash. Social rejection nowadays feels like death. It feels like you've been kicked out of the tribe. You're not a part of the community anymore. That's why conformity is such a big thing nowadays. You need to be on the trend. You need to be, right? Not consciously, but subconsciously. That's what you tell yourself. Because you don't want to be kicked out of the tribe. Failure feels like extinction. Back then, if you failed, hey, you're not going to be on this planet anymore. But now, like, your brain still functions like as if that's the truth. Like, when you fail, you feel like everything's over. You feel like your life is done. But that's not the case, right? So it's not about fighting these. It's not about getting rid of them. Again, it's about understanding them. And embarrassment feels like a threat because now you're blushing. Now your spine is starting to correct itself. You're starting to feel a bit hot, a bit cold at the same time. All these are like physical sensations you can feel of your lower self, your lower brain taking over. And it's good patterns to recognize. Your survival brain just hasn't updated yet. So now, at this point in the video, you're probably asking, I get it. I get what you're talking about. you know, the lower brain, this, that, third. But what can I do? What can I do about it, right? It's as you're saying it as if like, obviously, like, from my understanding, it's a part of us, right? So what can I do about it? The key is to calm it down, right? It's not about eliminating it. It's more about retraining it. It's more about you understanding that these are just patterns you've picked up, you've learned. You show it safety repeatedly. How? By doing the small steps. That's why when you try to take a big step, oh, I haven't gone to the gym ever. Now I'm going to do 2 hours. Probably won't go the day after that. Right? Or you will just fall off eventually. Because you've put yourself in too much of an uncomfortable position. It's stronger. It will pull you back. You need to show it safety repeatedly. Small, step by step. Do something small, uncomfortable today. Some people washing the dishes is very uncomfortable for them. Do that. Right? You don't have to put yourself in public shame like day one. You can just take it slowly. Through calm exposure. Through conscious response. Right? When your brain tries to kick into that mode of survival, you being able to consciously train it like, no, we're all right. This is fine. This is safety. Right? The key idea here is regulation before reaction. Now, the truth is, you being able to retrain your brain is not an easy task. I know I said it like it's an easy task. It's a very, very hard task that we would need to take years of like hard work and dedication to really retrain it to a point where these thoughts don't really dominate like that. But it is possible, right? It's something that you take step by step daily. Just little small steps, whatever you can do. The reason for that is because the lower self has been dominating for years, right? Before you were even conscious, it's evolved like this, right? And its reactions are automatic. The embarrassment that you feel, these fears that come from these thoughts, they're automatic. You feel you just feel the sensation, the physical sensation, before you even know the thought has dropped into your mind, right? But when you notice it, when you start to notice these things, you can notice the thought coming in, and then the physical emotion, the sensations start to creep in after it. But here's where your power comes in, right? When you feel it coming through, you can catch it right there. When you feel the thought coming through, you can catch it and be like, this is me trying to protect myself. This is my nervous system trying to protect me from danger. And then you can identify the emotion. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling angry. It won't take it away completely, right? But it will kind of give you that sense of control, because now you understand. It's not, you're not feeling attacked by something out of nowhere. Oh, like now you're panicking. You don't know if this is the right move. You don't know if you're doing the right thing. But now you understand, I am doing the right thing. It's just protection, right? And changing it requires repetition. That's the most important thing, consistency. And it will feel unnatural at first. It will feel like you're going against yourself. You're going against what you know. That's why people say, oh, that's not me. That's not what I do. Like, that's not really, you know, like it's something that it's just a pattern. You're not the pattern. You're just the awareness, right? If you evolve to be better, you are still you. But the important thing to know is difficulty doesn't mean it's wrong, right? It doesn't mean it being hard doesn't mean you're abandoning yourself. It just means you're rewriting your nervous system. Now that we've gone through all that, you might be wanting to know, what tools or what things can I use to help me amplify, right, my understanding of these thoughts, to help me understand where they're coming from, to help me trace them back to their origin, so they won't really have a hold on me like they do now. One of the tools you can use is meditation, right? And there's multiple better videos out there that you can watch that will teach you how to meditate properly. But Meditation in itself, its key function is building awareness, right? It's not about sitting there and thinking about random things. It's about sitting there and being present. Because when you're present and you start to be aware of your functions, your brain, your breathing, your blood circulation, you start to catch any thought that comes through. You can see it, right? And then you can also feel the sensation coming through. When you're in real life situations where embarrassment happens, you don't get the time to think about that. The reaction is instant. But this is where you train it. And then when you go out there, right, you will notice that it's not as hard. Like, the emotion didn't hit you as hard as it did because you have the understanding now. The understanding will even come before the reaction if you train it, if you repeat it more time, if you basically put in repetition. It basically helps you create space between the thought and the reaction. It helps you create space between the thought and the reaction, meaning when you're sitting down, when that thought comes to you, before the reaction hits, you have that space to understand why you're thinking this and if it's true or not. And more time, it's not. It's just a random fear that stemmed from something else. You learn to observe your emotion without engaging in them. Now, when you feel this embarrassment, when you feel this sadness, you understand that it's just a feeling, right? It's nothing you need to beat yourself up about. And then through that, you strengthen the higher self. And the key learning here is meditation isn't about peace. It's about control. Another strategy, another way for you to help you not really be consumed by your negative subconscious and be able to capture those thoughts, or to just not be, for them to not have as much power as they might have now, is to be purpose driven, right? To have something that you participate in. Because purpose, you having a purpose, you pouring into something, prevents you from being isolated. Because if you only live inside your head, your subconscious will end up consuming you. If you only live inside your room, right, not really having anything that you pour into that takes your attention, your subconscious will take control, right? It loves when we lack direction, and we don't really know where we're going, because that's when it's strongest. Because now we feel hopeless. And isolation is able to amplify these negative thoughts and patterns. But having a cause will be able to pull your attention away, and it will reduce the amount of times you overthink. And it also builds meaning. So just having that thing that you pour into will basically help you have something else to think about, something else to invest your time into, and you just being able to use that higher part of your brain, because you're using your higher part of your brain when you're thinking, when you're calculating, when you're computing, when you're helping. You just being in that zone just lowers the chances of your lower part of your brain being able to take control of you. And the key line here is contribution regulates the mind. So to wrap up the final synthesis, really the final steps of like how you should go about all of this, really, is just awareness first, understanding the survival brain and how it works. Don't shame yourself, right? This is normal. It's about understanding. Retrain it, being able to retrain it. That's what it is. It's not about fighting it, pushing it down. Oh, I'm not supposed to feel this, that. It's about retraining it. And it will take time, and it's hard. Strengthening the higher self by using critical thinking as often as possible, and then being able to contribute beyond yourself, which just strengthens your higher self because you critically think. You're not broken. You've just been in survival mode for a bit too long, buddy.